Hello, I am JC Paz. Welcome back. In Tutorial 1, we installed the MySQL Server, MySQL Shell, and MySQL Workbench. Now in Tutorial 2, we're going to understand how these components work together and dive into the architecture of MySQL. This lesson is crucial. It gives you the why behind the tools you're using. We'll also get hands-on using MySQL Shell and understand the first interactions with your MySQL server. Theoretical overview. MySQL Client-Server Architecture. MySQL uses a client-server model. Client, the tool you use to connect, Shell, Workbench, Python app, etc. Server, the MySQL daemon that manages databases and processes requests. MySQL follows a client-server architecture, meaning it operates as two distinct components, the MySQL server and one or more MySQL clients. This design is structured to efficiently handle data processing while allowing multiple users and applications to interact with the database simultaneously. Key components of MySQL client-server architecture. MySQL Server, the central component responsible for managing databases, executing SQL queries, and handling concurrent connections. It manages authentication, storage engines, query optimization, and transaction processing. MySQL clients applications or tools that send SQL requests to the MySQL server. These clients can be command line interfaces, graphical tools, or web applications. Communication protocol. MySQL clients and servers interact via a network using the MySQL protocol, which is based on TCP/IP. Clients send queries, and the server processes them before returning results. Authentication and authorization. MySQL ensures security through user authentication mechanisms and access controls, restricting unauthorized interactions with database objects. Storage engine. The MySQL server supports multiple storage engines like InnoDB and MyISAM, each offering different functionalities for handling transactions, indexing, and data integrity. Query execution and optimization. MySQL employs query parsing, execution planning, and optimization techniques to ensure fast retrieval and manipulation of data. Concurrency control and transactions through mechanisms like locks, isolation levels, and ACID-compliant transactions. MySQL ensures data integrity when multiple clients interact with the database simultaneously. Now let's talk about the MySQL Server internal components. In this layered diagram, you can see the main 5 components and its related roles. The Connection Manager handles incoming connections from clients, verifies login credentials, manages each client session. The Query Parser and Optimizer parses SQL queries, checks for syntax errors, builds an execution plan, decides the most efficient way to get results, optimizes complex queries before sending them to storage engines. The Storage Engine handles how data is actually stored, retrieved, and written to disk, supports transactions, foreign keys, and more. Common engines, InnoDB, MyISAM, memory, etc. The Buffer Pool stores frequently accessed data and indexes in memory, improves performance by avoiding repeated disk access, especially critical for read-heavy systems. And the Data Dictionary stores metadata about all objects in the server, is always kept in sync with actual data, replaces older FRM file format from earlier versions. Now in this section we will see interactions with the shell. If we open a terminal with the command prompt and type mysql sh, MySQL Shell 9.2.0 responds with an orange prompt. We can change the tab color to orange to be in accordance with it. The first command we are giving is \status that provides the actual version of the shell. Just because the shell is helping us and provides the way to ask for help with \help or to quit with \quit, we provide a second command for help. A complete screen shows the available commands. And we can see in the same row 3 different commands for help. So we type now, \h to have the help screen again. If we go up in the list, we see that \c connects the shell to a MySQL server and assigns a session. Let's make a connection to the localhost server using user Gennaro. We need to provide the password for this user. And answer if we want to save the password for future connections. The server uses TCP port 3306 and tell us that no schema was used. Let's check the status again. And now we have several lines with the connections information. One important is that the protocol version is Classic 10 using port 3306. Now let's do another connection, but now using the port 33060. As you can see, the protocol version is X. From the help screen, we can see that \u sets the active schema. But the way to see which schemas are available, we need to run the query, show databases. A database list shows, and let's use Sakila. The shell prompt shows now that we are connected to localhost using port 33060 and that Sequila is in use. The next command, show tables, will display all the tables in the database or schema. The query select asterisk from actor will show us all the rows and columns of the table actor. Also, we can choose just 2 columns with a query to have a variant. And quit with \quit. In a different tab that we can color with blue, we can give the command \py to switch to Python mode. Here the status provides just the MySQL shell version because we don't have a connection. In this mode we can make a connection in the same way as we did before. After providing the password, we can check the status. It's up to you to choose the protocol to use because in Python we have different classes and methods associated with each protocol. In any mode we can use the \/ commands, and we are using \SQL to run a query to display the schemas. We are using \u Sequila to use it. and use the command table equals db.get_table_actor. Here DB is the object representing the schema in use, and table is the object with all the information inside actor. The information in the actor rows depends upon the columns that we want to display. With rows equals table.select *execute.fetch all. We will have all the columns. And with for row and rows print row. We will see the information from the table. Now using the JavaScript mode. A connection can be done, the status can be checked, and a schema can be used in the same way as before. More on this in another future lecture. Now that we have seen how to interact with the shell, let's see how to do it with the workbench. As we have seen in a previous part, MySQL Workbench is a client graphical user interface that allows to design, create and browse schemas and tables and run queries, import and export data. Clicking the plus sign, we can set up new connections, filling a form with the information of the server and the user. Here we are creating connection Aquarius to a local server using Gennaro's credentials. And another connection Janus to a foreign server using the same user. When we click one of these connections, the GUI opens a new tab with the name of the server. In the leftmost part of the main window, two tabs labeled Administration and Schemas. In Management, we can check the status, connections, users, and how to export and import data. In Schemas, we can see all existent databases available to use. If we click on Sequila, tables, views, stored procedures, and functions are exposed. If we click on tables, all the available tables that we saw before will show up again. If we right-click on actor, all the records of that table will display due to the query. Select asterisk from actor. If we replace the asterisk with first underscore name semicolon last underscore name, then a different display will show up. We can do something similar to the city table from Schema World to display all the records. Now if we open a connection to the second server and check the schemas available, we see there are several schemas to work with. If we click on Schema Test and pick My Underscore Collection, we can see that the content is a JSON document known as a document in MySQL Protocol X. Just before we go, you must know that there is an online Workbench documentation to know more about it. In this lecture, I am going to stop here, but in future ones we will see important and amassing content. I hope you liked this lecture. Please subscribe and don't forget to give a like. In this way I can continue doing videos like this.